Wagen.
देखें कौन नया खिलाड़ी आया है।
समझा देते हैं।
प्यार से समझाएंगे। ये तो अपनी जुबान है।
जुबान एक हो तो दिल भी एक होने चाहिए। विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी।
झाके रे झाके झरोके से झाके देख के दम है छोटे बड़े सारे झाके रे झाके फ्यूचर को ये ताके तरक्की को टुक टुक हर कोई ताके झाके रे झाके
Reimagineering brighter futures with smarter steels. ArcelorMittal, Nippon Steel India. Smarter steels, brighter futures.
Everyone looks at the world today. At Hyundai, we go beyond with experiences that take us forward. Inspired by our today, we design your tomorrow. Some said electric is the future. We said, why stop there? At Hyundai, we are going beyond mobility, and you are welcome to join us.
Burning question.
प्लीज।
जिस प्रकार से खरगे जी ने अभद्र भाषा का प्रयोग किया, जिस प्रकार से खरगे जी ने पूरी तरीके से बेबुनियाद बातें रखी, असत्य को देश के सामने रखने की कोशिश की, मैं उसकी घोर निंदा करता हूं और उनसे माफी की मांग करता हूं।
Face off in Rajya Sabha over Congress chief's Chuha insult to Prime Minister Modi.
बाहर जो कहा, अगर फिर यहाँ रिपीट करूंगा, इन लोगों के लिए बहुत मुश्किल हो जाएगा।
Ravan, Jhuto ka Sardar, and now Chuha, but Kharge refuses to apologize.
वो कौन सा कल्चर है जिसको गांधी खानदान ने सर्टिफाई किया है कांग्रेस में? प्रश्न ये उठता है।
Union Minister Smriti Irani gives it back to Vadra Congress for sexist comments against her. NIA charge sheet in Umesh Kole murder nails role of radical Islamists of Tablighi Jamaat. Republic gets parents and former employees' testimonies on alleged malpractices by Byju's. Hospitals overburdened, crematoriums working round the clock as COVID situation worsens in China. All right, very good evening, friends. It was a testy Tuesday in Parliament with the opposition and the Treasury benches coming at each other, and on the Kharge comment on Prime Minister, from Ravan to Chuha, from monkey to dog, it's becoming an unending race to the bottom. For Kharge, it can't be attracting eyeballs. It is just about keeping the first family in good humor, perhaps. Ironic, given the Gandhi Vadras hardly make an electoral impact anymore. For Ajay Rai of the Congress party, on the other hand, it might have been a cheap way of getting back in circulation. But isn't it sad that all this leads to a political discourse that leaves little by way of inspiration for present and coming generations of aspiring politicians? Let's discuss that after a short package on what has happened in the last 24 hours.
The Congress party is stooping to a new low every day. First, it was the Latke Jhatke bar by Congress leader Ajay Rai on Union Minister Smriti Irani.
स्मृति ईरानी केवल आती हैं, लटके झटके देकर चली जाती हैं। वो निश्चित तौर से गांधी परिवार की सीट है और रहेगी। राहुल गांधी निश्चित तौर से 2024 में वहाँ की कार्यकर्ताओं की मांग है। हम सब लोग ये निश्चित तौर से डिमांड करेंगे कि वो वहाँ पे चुनाव 24 में आके लड़े।
And now it is Congress president calling the Prime Minister of the country a rat.
चाइना जो आक्रमण कर रहा है, उसके बारे में हम चर्चा चाहते हैं, दूसरा कुछ नहीं। लेकिन वो चर्चा के लिए तैयार नहीं है। बाहर तो शेर के जैसा बात करते हैं, लेकिन उनका जो चलना है वो सिर्फ आप देखेंगे तो चूहे के जैसा है।
And both of them not only remain defiant but also reiterate their stand. The Congress High Command is tight-lipped, no condemnation, no sacking. Time and again we have seen these leaders throwing derogatory remark against the Prime Minister and Union Minister. Has the political discourse hit a new low? Bureau Report, Republic TV.
All right, welcome back, friends. Joining me at this 8 p.m. Burning question. Tuhin Sinha, spokesperson of the BJP, live from Mumbai. PKD Nambia, political analyst, leans toward the BJP, live from Delhi. We also have Ashutosh Mishra, senior journalist, live from Delhi, leans toward the Congress party, as also Sumant Raman, political analyst, live from Chennai. If I could begin with you, Sumant Raman, where are we headed to? I'm sure you would not agree with what's happening, but still, how do we put a break to this?
We need to differentiate in obvious insults and figures of speech or expressions that are being used. Now, what Mr. Kharge said was to raise a question. He asked a question, how many people from the BJP have sacrificed their lives during the freedom struggle, or people from the predecessors of the BJP, because the BJP didn't exist then, which is a very, very valid question. Now, the use of the term has even a dog in the house of somebody in the BJP sacrifice their lives is basically meant to drive home the point that nobody even remotely connected with them was involved in the freedom struggle. It is purely an expression of speech. I don't see where this question of everything can be spun into an insult, because the media is there for spinning it as an insult. Second, the other statement.
Okay, you have given some food for thought, so let Tuhin respond to that. Tuhin, you are making a mountain out of molehill. I am using a figure of speech, and according to Sumant Raman, Kharge was also using a figure of speech, saying, what's wrong if he says,
Good evening, Abhishek.
even a dog has not, has made any sacrifice from a BJP family.
Good evening, Abhishek. Good evening to all the viewers. The Congress, by its own admission now, is an uncouth party which thrives on diatribes, which thrives on invectives. And this is not only against the Prime Minister. This is not only against the government. When Draupadi Murmu was contesting the President's poll, they called her, as subscribing to an evil philosophy. They have
clarify that you are not using a figure of speech when you say Congress is an uncouth party, so that Ashutosh can respond.
Sorry? No, I say it with a lot of responsibility.
I'm saying to him, clarify that you are not using a figure of speech when you say Congress is an uncouth party.
I say it with a lot of responsibility. And, when you talk about abusive language being used by the Congress party, thankfully you've not even mentioned the open death wish which Raju Pateria of the Congress party has been giving. So I think you also need to include that. So anyway, the point over here is that let me dispel it. If you give me a minute, let me dispel this once and for all. First of all, this Congress party, the present day Congress party, is by no means a claimant of the legacy of Mahatma Gandhi or Sardar Patel. And this has been proved time and again in the last 27 years with the shameful and embarrassing defeats that they have, been handed over in Gujarat. Number two, now coming back to the contribution of Rahul Gandhi has raised multiple times the question of what RSS, how RSS has contributed to, or whether RSS has contributed to India's freedom struggle. First of all, let me remind you that Dr. Jhatke worked in the Provincial Congress Committee of Central Province before founding RSS, and you should read about his disillusionment with the Congress party, after which he formed the RSS. But even after forming the RSS, in 1928, the Anti-Simon Commission in the Central Province region protests were led by RSS leaders and Swayamsevaks. On 12th July 1930, Dr. Jhatke, along with 800 people, proceeded to Pusad for the Satyagraha movement and spent 9 months in prison after his arrest. So, I think this is the reality which should dawn upon the Congress party. This whole this whole behavior that you are the only people who have contributed towards the freedom of the country needs to go. Furthermore, in 1929, when Purna Swaraj resolution was passed, RSS showed solidarity by issuing a circular to all its 37 shakas. This is a documented fact. During the Quit India movement, RSS Swayam Sevaks were shot dead but successfully established a parallel government in Asti Chimur at the wrath of the Britishers. So you need to all know all this. You need to educate yourself, and you need to give up your condescending attitude towards all those who don't subscribe to your philosophy.
Ashutosh, that's a very comprehensive, lowdown. Ashutosh, Sumant Raman, I'll come to you. Ashutosh, it's a comprehensive lowdown on the role of RSS, the ideological mothership of the BJP, and I think Mallikarjun Kharge has been long in Indian politics to understand that the BJP was born in 1980. So to be asking them whether they played any role in freedom struggle is a little patronizing, and I think it goes beyond figure of speech. I think Mallikarjun Kharge perhaps has no answers, electorally speaking, to the BJP, and that's why he's dragging freedom struggle into it. Ashutosh.
So first of all, let's start with the certificate of uncouthness. It does not lie in the mouth of BJP to call Congress uncouth. Let's remember Narendra Modi. What did he call Sonia Gandhi? Jersey cow. Rahul Gandhi? Hybrid calf. Congress ki vidwa. What is all this? This gutter level of politics. I mean, it's Modi's contribution to Indian politics, bringing it to such a low level. Coming back to the contribution of RSS forefathers, let's remember that he forgets about Shyama Prasad Mukherjee. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee had written to the British that he will help the British sabotage Gandhiji's Quit India movement. Let's be very clear. Hegdewar, there is written history that he went to jail to ensure that he could spread his RSS ideology amongst the people in there and discourage them from following Gandhiji. Their hatred for Gandhiji knows no bound. So he's saying that just because Modi has won elections in Gujarat means something. It does not. Modi has been rejected in Himachal outrightly, and that's what's the
Ashutosh, we are discussing something else.
All India is talking about.
For God's sake, we are not discussing freedom struggle and the role of RSS vis-a-vis Mahatma Gandhi.
You asked that question.
Ashutosh, remember how I began by setting the debate. I said, let's discuss what has happened in the last 24 hours. It begins with Mallikarjun Kharge, and since he's a senior leader of the party, Ashutosh, and Sumant Raman, I would want you on this. He gives a cue to junior leaders or middle-level leaders or inconsequential leaders within the Congress party, and then you have Ajay Rai saying, taunting Union Minister Smriti Irani that she comes and does Latke Jhatke and goes away from Amethi. Can you respond electorally by winning Amethi rather than making those kind of sexist, misogynist comments?
No, one second, Abhishek. First, let us get this bit about the RSS leaders contributed to the freedom struggle and so on. That is laughable because there is overwhelming evidence to say that they not only did not contribute as they should have, there was a tremendous dislike for Mahatma Gandhi, and the fact that they, for all practical purposes, supported the British.
Let's be fair. Tuhin just informed you that RSS was integral to freedom struggle. Hegdewar was in fact part of the Congress party. He was a member of the Congress. Till even after being setting up the RSS, he continued to be a congressman. He was active in the district unit of the Congress party. To say that RSS picking up only one aspect of Gandhi and then try to rail against them. I think, as I said, we are discussing the last 24 hours, Sumant Raman. You are kind of digressing. In the last 24 hours, whatever has happened, do you agree that this should be allowed to happen, irrespective of which party has done it?
Allow me to complete 2 sentences. This is the case where multiple leaders started off with the Congress party, did not being given probably the importance that they felt they deserved. I'll give you an example. In Tamil Nadu, E.V. Ramasamy, who is called as Periyar by some, he started off in the Congress party and then spent the better part of 15 years or 20 years in the run-up to independence colluding with the British. He said declare 15th August as black 1947 as a black day. So there is, just because you started off with the Congress Party does not mean that you supported the freedom movement. It is what you did subsequently for a large portion of your political activism and career. And I see the parallels between what
Sumant Raman, you have answered the question. You have answered the question. We are unnecessarily harking back to the freedom struggle. Remember, the Congress Party of the freedom struggle was a movement. It was a different party. You know, even within the Congress, there were all strands. There was a socialist left, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. There was a conservative right, Sardar Patel, and a centrist Mahatma Gandhi in it. So you can't compare the Congress Party of freedom struggle with what we are seeing now. You know, I was asking a question on Ajay Rai. You deflected. PKD Nambiar, you know, BJP might be facing these attacks as of now. BJP
post freedom struggle. What about
Sumant Raman, I'm taking this forward.
What about Rajiv Gandhi's
I'm taking this forward. Rajiv Gandhi's sacrifice?
Answered Sumant Raman very well.
He laid down his life for the country.
Okay, PKD Nambiar, Sumant Raman is saying, what about Rajiv Gandhi's sacrifice? It happened in the 1990s. There is no commensurate sacrifice by the BJP. Respond.
Well, I think Sumant Raman is it's not a history class, and even if it is it is a history class. Let me tell him that it, as you said very rightly, the freedom movement then it was not the Congress Party of today. It is actually, as you call it, it's a Vadra Congress, and if that Congress needs to be compared with, I have so many people from my family who were freedom fighters, and in fact, one of the first topmost leaders in the parliament, was from my family. But that does not mean that they were all congressmen and what was the Congress of the freedom movement and what is the Congress of today? And do you know that how many times the Congress in 70s of after independence, and how Indira Gandhi has snatched and kicked out all the people away, and now coming to the real topic of the
okay, there's some audio issue with PKD. I would want my PCR to really fix it before we go back to him, because I'm not able to understand what he's saying, and the same would be with the viewers. So let's fix the audio of PKD Nambiar first. Tohin, I'll come to you, but Ashutosh, you know, how right is this argument that Indira Gandhi made a supreme sacrifice, Rajiv Gandhi made a supreme sacrifice in 1980s and 90s respectively, and then there is no parallel available with the BJP? Forget about freedom struggle. You know, are those sacrifices, of course, those were, you know, they lost, both Indira and Rajiv lost their lives to terror. But is it fair to compare what happened to Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi and to tell the BJP, oh, you have not made those kind of sacrifices?
There are two things. First, about these sacrifices, I mean, you have to appreciate that both of them stood up for India. It wasn't a case where China has intruded into India and Narendra Modi says, na koi ghusa hua hai, na koi ghuspat hui hai. These people, they lack guts. That's why Kharge called him a Chuha. He talks about being 56 inch, but when it comes to standing up and telling people, they hide it. They hid the latest intrusion till it was reported in press. Then they are unwilling to even discuss it. So forget about
PKD, you have to respond to this.
Becoming martyrs.
Ashutosh Mishra and of course Sumant Raman are making a clear charge that you have no comparable sacrifices vis-a-vis the Congress Party, and also what you project is a very different picture than what you deliver.
Absolutely. I don't know where is this. If even today, if Sumant Raman or somebody else is trying to defend the comments which is made by a tall leader or a senior leader who had almost more than a half a century of public life.
Unlike you who try to divert attention from the truth, he has called spade a spade. He has called Modi a Chuha. Chuha for not standing up for India, going there and shaking hands with Jinping, going and attending.
We are discussing how to bring that discourse out of the race to bottom it has become, and you can't be repeating the same argument, Ashutosh Mishra. For God's sake, let me take this forward. Let me take this forward. Bring in Hold on, PKD Nambiar, hold on. PKD, hold on. I am bringing in that very, very reasoned and statesmanly intervention that was made by Vice President and Chairman of Rajya Sabha, Vice President of India, and of course, Chairman of Rajya Sabha, Jagdeep Dhankar, while intervening between the Treasury and the opposition benches earlier in the day. Let's listen into what Jagdeep Dhankar said, and then I come back to take this forward.
Do not appreciate such unruly scenes and chaotic behavior in the House. This House, this House, either side is a platform of expression. This House has to reflect and take note everything that happens outside. This House is a very august House. Everything is spoken here carries great weight. Anyone who has to say anything should take recourse to rules. If you have a point to make, I have already indicated that there is a special category of leader of the House and leader of the opposition. And two of them represent their respective voices. I advise the members on this side and this side to articulate if there is an issue of grave urgency which can't wait through the respective leaders. And we have floor leaders also. They can put it to me between 10 to 11. Honorable Leader of the House.
All right, this was in fact not the complete soundbite. Tuhin Sinha, carrying forward, Jagdeep Dhankar also said that when it comes to taking decisions and to make sure that decorum is maintained in the House, in political discourse, he reprimanded, almost like children, both the Treasury and opposition benches, and he said that I will take decision and action and disciplinary action against both the sides. I will not differentiate. You think the Vice President was really trying to raise the decorum of the House and of politics indeed? Tuhin, you think that whatever has happened in the last 24 hours, there are lessons for both the sides, and it's important that we take those lessons and move ahead and try to be a little more consciously responsible as top politicians of the country?
Well, absolutely. But, I think if I remind you of Rahul Gandhi's behavior when a very important discussion on Rafale was happening, what was he doing? Winking and throwing paper planes when the then defense minister Nirmala Sitharaman was speaking. So I think the opposition needs to take a little more onus. Having said that, there are two important points which I've been hearing and which I wish to clarify. See, whenever a Congress person challenges us and asks us whether we have contributed to the freedom movement, let me put this to rest once and for all that the present day Congress is led by imported Gandhis. It has nothing to do with the father of the nation, and that has been proved in the last 27 years with the resounding defeats, with the worst defeats the Congress has suffered. So I don't think that Congress has the moral authority to lecture us on our contribution to the country and to the freedom movement. Number two, I keep hearing how have we done? Number two, very important point again. How have we countered China? Anybody who's not ignorant would know that even before the Decorum crisis from 2016, 2017, our principled opposition to war, one belt, one road, the ambitious plans of the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, to take over the world, a principled opposition to that was what has provoked them, and since then, we have combated them aggressively. Be it Decorum, be it Galwan Valley, be it Tawang, but not only that, the slew of PLI schemes has been the game changer today. We have taken away manufacturing from them today. We are the leading hub of toy exports. We are the leading hub of mobile exports. And in the years to come, the biggest game changer is the manufacture of semiconductors.
He is making a mockery of facts.
Does not realize or is consciously ignorant of.
What mockery, Ashutosh Mishra? What mockery, Ashutosh Mishra? What mockery, Ashutosh Mishra? Is it not a fact that our Jawans fought bravely and as sentinels of the country really pushed back the Chinese hard? Is it not a fact? Are you disputing that? Again, are you repeating what Rahul Gandhi has done? by making comments which can demoralize or have demoralizing consequences on the Indian army and the Jawans there at sub-zero temperatures along the line of actual control, Ashutosh Mishra?
You cannot hide behind the Jawans to hide ineffectiveness of Modi and his government. Under Modi, imports after Galwan have risen 30% from China. There are today more Chinese companies registered in India. There are more Chinese directors in Indian companies today than were ever before. So you cannot every time hide behind the Jawans who lay their lives for India, behind a man who claimed that he had a special relationship with the Chinese premier, who wooed Chinese like hell. He kept talking about his special relationship with China.
PKD, quick 30 seconds. I have only 1.5 minutes. PKD, quick 30 seconds. He's saying, Ashutosh Mishra is saying, the BJP shouldn't be lecturing or hiding behind Indian army because you have done more business with the Chinese while the Congress only did an MOU.
Abhishek, you have seen that how the same comment of Chuha calling the Prime Minister of this country has been multiple times been used again in this particular platform. You have simply allowed them to do so. What is the Prime Minister of India?
This is a free country.
Is
Who
it
are
the
you
Prime
to
Minister?
allow me or disallow me?
My dear friend, shut up.
This hasn't become a dictatorship yet. You
I don't know
may
yet, how
be a
did you-
BJP
where have you got this
supporter.
guy from?
You cannot be a bully. That you will allow me or disallow
Okay, Ashutosh,
me.
let PKD complete. Ashutosh, you have made your point. I have taken your position and questions to PKD Nambiar. Let him respond.
My only humble submission is that we started on a discussion that how the low level of decency of the language which is being used on our political commentary today needs to be addressed. And if that is coming from somebody like a person who has in the public life for 55 years, if it is coming from him, this is simply not acceptable. Will Mr. Khadge's grandson using this kind of a language may be liked by anybody? I think the bottom line is that the quality of language in our political discourse needs to be changed completely.
Okay.
And the opposition today is frustrated. They are desperate. They're trying to get an attention from the people like you, from the media, and that is precisely what they are trying to get. But the people of India now knows who is Modi, who is Khadge.
Fine.
PKD,
let me take this forward.
Modi. You can cry, you can shout.
No. Khadge is a respectable leader.
5 किलो गाली दे दो, उनको कोई फर्क पड़ने वाला नहीं है. आएगा 2024 में फिर मोदी गाली
now
की
let me take this forward with a little more provocative thought so far as the Congress party is concerned. PKD, hold on. Sumant Raman, first to you. When was the last time we really heard this kind of sarcasm / abuse from a senior BJP leader? The reference that Ashutosh Mishra brought Sumant Raman was from way back in 2001, 2002, perhaps. Since then the world has changed, the world has grown. Ashutosh is stuck there. You think the Congress party, if I could use a figure of speech because you think that these are figures of speech, Congress party is behaving like a cornered cat. And because it has no answer to Modi, it ends up calling him Chuha, calling him Ravan, calling him this, calling him that. Sumant Raman.
3 quick points. 3 quick points, Abhishek. Point number 1, the Congress party of today may not be directly connected to Mahatma Gandhi, but it is certainly directly connected to Jawaharlal Nehru. So, who is the first Prime Minister and the architect of modern India? That we don't even need to go down to discuss why that is the case. The second point is that somebody, I think Mr. Sinha said about India has replaced China as a manufacturing hub or whatever. I don't know where he is getting all this. Maybe from WhatsApp University this data is coming. But we have a record trade deficit with China as of now. And the China has, while companies are worried about Chinese government and its policies and Xi Jinping and so on, which is causing them to move out, it is laughable to say that India has replaced China as the manufacturing hub of the world. I think it's, even by WhatsApp University standards, that's a bit thick. The third point is, of course, sorry.
Sumant Raman, do you condemn what Mallikarjun Kharge said over the last couple of months? Do you condemn whatever?
Do you want to come to the rescue of PKD Nambiar?
Question is that? Do you condemn that?
Sohen, would you want to come to the rescue of PKD Nambiar since you are officially representing the BJP?
No, it is very amusing that on some pretext or the other, their admiration for China becomes very visible at the drop of a hat. Are they not aware of the slew of PLI schemes which have been a game changer? I can show you today's article where India has taken away toy manufacturing. It has become one of the key export manufacturing hubs for toys. Are they not aware of the amount which Vedant Foxconn are investing in semiconductor manufacturing hub in the years to come? Almost there are many other companies like Tata that would be entering into the hub. So all these are very important steps towards making India a manufacturing hub. Either they expect the results to be visible in a day, which is impossible, or they like to live in denial, which is more likely the case over here.
Living in denial. Okay, Tuhin, you have made your point. Congress party is living in denial. Ashutosh Mishra, Sumant Raman did not answer my question, and my question was that is the Congress party feeling like a cornered cat because it has no answer to Narendra Modi electorally? And that's why these kind of frequent, regular attacks, personal attacks on the Prime Minister.
So you must be, you really must have missed the Himachal elections where Narendra Modi went and said you don't even have to know the name of the BJP candidate. You are voting for Narendra Modi. And what happened in Himachal is for everyone to see. So Narendra Modi is now no longer the same brand that he used to be one earlier. So that is why Congress should be proud that its state level.
Okay, Himachal is a victory for Rahul Gandhi, by the way. Is Himachal a victory for Rahul Gandhi?
I said state Congress leaders, I have very clearly said even state Congress leaders were enough to bash Modi. Finish him off. Now coming to you were talking about the insults. You may have forgotten Narendra Modi as the Prime Minister in Chhattisgarh asked about whether Rahul Gandhi's grandparents had come to lay the pipeline. So Narendra Modi hasn't, what I was telling you was the most obvious things that were there in public memory. And this is also there in public memory where Modi, despite being the Prime Minister, continues to use foul language against the Gandhi family. You cannot deny that. I mean, you cannot say that these things can be brushed under the carpet. They don't leave any
quick 15 seconds rebuttal to him and I end the debate. Quick 15 seconds to him.
Is the main challenge.
I think there is a larger issue over here.
Everyone,
it is about the way the Congress has been denigrating constitutional offices, whether it is of the Prime Minister or whether it is of the President. And we saw all the abuses that they were hurling at Draupadi Murmu ji also before she became the President. Now, the other important issue is that almost all of these issues are linked with China. And every time India has a conflict with China, I don't know what sadistic joy the Congress party derives by undermining the army. So the issue over here is much larger.
Army is not undermined. Modi is exposed, and every time Modi is exposed for his ineffectiveness, you try to hide behind the soldiers. You remember he went to ask seek votes in the name of Pulwama warriors. It's a matter of shame that Modi cannot stand on his own feet and has to every time use army as an excuse. Army is respected and everybody thanks them, but it's Modi who has denied them OROP, who is weakening the Indian army by cutting the number of soldiers, who is now introduced Agnipath, where the
questions over their abilities. You are not respecting the army, which is what we have been
Ashutosh Mishra, Tuhin Sinha, I have run out of time.
BJP and Modi.
Ashutosh Mishra and Tuhin Sinha, I have run out of time. Thank you so much, Sumant Raman and PKD Nambiar as well. Thank you so much, all my guests, panelists, viewers. This discourse has to be elevated in some way, and that's why we thought that we'll bring it to focus with this debate at 8 p.m. burning question. But since the panelists were talking about China, China is facing another possible round or wave of COVID pandemic since they eased the zero COVID policy and the consequent restrictions. It's likely that the Chinese population is not fully prepared immunity-wise and infrastructure-wise to handle a possible wave of COVID. That's the subject of discussion with Niranjan on the other side from Mumbai studios.
Thank you for that, Abhishek. The pictures coming in from Beijing in different cities in China are disturbing. And it's the world's most confused COVID policy that's actually led the Chinese people to suffer. From zero COVID policy to removing restrictions. Basically, they just did a complete U-turn after the protests, and the people of China are paying the price for it. Here is the story so far. Let's move on and get to the second debate tonight on the burning question. Beijing has been gripped by the fastest spreading Omicron variant of COVID-19 and has reported more deaths as the virus struck the majority of over 21 million people in Beijing, including foreign diplomatic missions. Massive pressure on health facilities. We've been getting in videos through the day on Republic TV. Here's a look at the pictures that came in, and then we look at what's going on in China in great detail. We have experts joining us on the show tonight.
Crematoriums overburdened, hospitals overwhelmed, 1 million deaths projected. These are the grave scenes that China is witnessing. It's China's COVID emergency. Confused COVID policy fails. Eases restrictions, faces COVID surge. China unable to deal with Omicron surge. Hospitals full, bodies pile up in mortuaries. Vaccine efficacy is being questioned and the complete U-turn in policy is being blamed. In October, China was still in an all-out war on coronavirus, imposing rigid restrictions despite its adverse impact on the country's economy. 2 months down the line, the government has made an absolute turnaround in face of protests. China's COVID woes are ringing alarm bells globally. The Health Ministry in India has issued letter to states to take precautionary measures. Did a confused policy get China into a COVID mess? Bureau Report, Republic TV.
And joining us on the show this evening are Dr. P.S. Venkatesh Rao, is a former faculty of CMC Vellore, AIIMS New Delhi, and UCMS Delhi and MSRMC in Bengaluru. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Rao. I also have Brian Wall, who's an infectious disease epidemiologist, and Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, a senior pediatrician and chairman of Nephron Clinic. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. The pictures are coming in. If I can start with Dr. P.S. Venkatesh Rao. With you first, Doctor. Looking at the policy change in China. Let's start with that. You saw those dramatic protests when people were locked up inside their homes with the zero COVID policy, and then you had this complete shift. They had to ease restrictions. They basically gave in, and are they paying the price for it today?
Good evening. China has gone from one extreme of lockdown, where they locked down buildings and institutions just because there was one infected patient. That meant everyone who was locked down with that patient got exposed to the infection. And because of the lack of food, essential supplies, and the fact that children were separated from parents, that when there was a fire incident, they were unable to save the people who were in the upper floors. All this led to severe public backlash. And to manage that, they have gone to the other extreme where they have removed all travel restrictions. So in short, they are now allowing a population which doesn't seem to have been vaccinated with effective vaccines. The Chinese vaccines now everyone knows is not effective. And where the herd immunity has not developed due to milder variants, is now exposed to a more severe variant of the it's a BF7 variant of the Omicron, which is causing havoc now. And already there are reports of, and we are seeing videos of large numbers of admissions of their sudden increase in the bed capacity and ICU capacities in China, and large numbers reaching the crematorium. So obviously they have gone from one extreme now, which was unscientific. There's no point trying to lock down large number of people just because there's one infection and locking them with the infected person to this other extreme. So this is what they are now facing. Yeah. And as the number of cases keep increasing, they are now going to face a problem of shortage of beds, shortage of medical supplies, all the kind of things. They made fun of us. They that time, because of a severe lockdown, they managed to get away with that.
Dr. Rao,
they're having the same problem.
Dr. Rao, with your permission, can I get in the other two panelists as well? Because
Yes, sure.
we have little time on the show. So Brian is an epidemiologist with Johns Hopkins, and he's also traveling in India. Brian, our experience has been you have to have a uniform policy, and that's the only approach that works. With India, that worked. With China, it seems to be backfiring. The fact that they've gone from one extreme to another, like Dr. Rao just mentioned, your views on that?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on today. One clarification: I'm based in India, and I've been based in India through the pandemic. And as you very rightly said, two different approaches taken by two different countries. In India, lockdown measures were put in place. Lockdown measures are never meant to be permanent. They are helpful in giving time to, one, understand a novel virus like this. So in 2020, when we were still learning a lot about the virus, it was important to have lockdown measures in place. They also allow us an opportunity to strengthen health systems to account for a potential increase in cases. And as we were developing vaccines, they also bought time in order to protect especially the most vulnerable populations with vaccination. China, in contrast to the strategy that's been adopted in many other parts of the world, including in India, adopted for a zero COVID strategy, which in my view has not been sustainable, one. And now that the Chinese government has taken an about face, I think has also put it at higher risk of a massive surge of cases. That too, with the Chinese vaccine, Sinopharm, the Sinopharm vaccine, which we know is of lower efficacy, and with low coverage within older adults, the most vulnerable, we're now seeing a massive surge in cases.
Yeah. There are more alarming facts, coming out in the public domain today. For example, Dr. Bagai, there are some reports, and we're going by what agencies are reporting. They say that this is the fastest spreading COVID virus, which has affected almost 60% or 70%. I'm sorry, 70% of Beijing's population of over 21 million. So by conservative estimates, that could be above 15 million. Right? That's 1.5 crore people in one city alone. Now, the even more alarming aspect that's being reported is that China has reportedly lost count of the cases. They have lost count of the cases, and it has stopped public testing. So, it could be much worse than what we are actually seeing. And China, the thing about China, you'll never see the real picture.
Good evening. So I think to put things in the correct framework, you can believe anyone in the world except China. The entire edifice of the COVID fight and the story, and making no bones about it, is based on a false narrative. They have lied their way through. It's an opaque society. We don't know the data. We don't know the numbers. We don't know the exact figures. It's a double bluff. But having said that, let's see what happened as wrong and what can happen as right going forward. We know right from the beginning that the Chinese vaccines, two of them, had a very low efficacy, somewhere around 40 or 50%, and effectiveness even lower for the original strain. Having said that, now with the new Omicron, which is BA 2.75, which we call as BA7 or BF7, sorry, BQ 1.1, XBB 1.5, and other sublineages, there are more than 623 sublineages of Omicron. What it has done is it has made it more invasive. It has made it more immune escape, more vaccine escape, 165 times more vaccine and immune escape than the original strain. That's an unsurmountable figure. So what it has done is it has become more pathogenic, more invasive. It may cause little less of respiratory, but that less is a very relative term gauging by the Chinese population. And more importantly is that the mutations which are taking place now in plenty are what we call as, what we really call as convergent mutations. So they are more focused towards other aspect of the spike protein towards the N-terminal domain, which is not the original way where it was going at the receptor binding domain. So the entry points are very different of Omicron. It doesn't use the original ACE receptor any longer. Having said that, going forward, there is also, we know, a concept of immune imprinting. That means your B cell response is grossly blunted with the Omicron. We have a really large population, poor vaccine platform being used, poor penetration of vaccines, a large segment being partially vaccinated or completely unvaccinated, and practically no significant population being boosted, now becoming a vulnerable, the comorbids, the elderlies, entering into the community. This is going to rage like bushfire. Mark my words, if China is not contained now collectively by the world, we may be in for a disaster.
Yeah, Dr. Bagai, the good news is India's, already monitoring the situation. We're reviewing it tomorrow. There's a meeting. The health minister of the country is reviewing the COVID situation tomorrow after the spurt in cases in both US and China. Now, before we end this, I just want to get in a quick word from Brian. Brian, you're an epidemiologist. Some of these, forecasts, projections, putting the number at about 1 million deaths that could be expected in China if things go on as per reports. And there are also questions about the Chinese vaccine itself. They're now looking at a possible fourth dose. That tells you something, isn't it?
So the projections, as alarming as they are, as Dr. Bagai very rightly said, the data from China are difficult to make predictions based on. And so the estimates of the number of individuals who may become infected, and then who may pass away, very difficult to say. But given the reports that we've been seeing from China, it does seem to be a staggering number of individuals who may both become unwell and then perish as a result. And so I think it's imperative on China to be open about its data, be open about its genomic surveillance, share data, as many other countries around the world have throughout this pandemic, including India. And it's imperative on countries around the world to also strengthen their genomic surveillance, as India, as you mentioned, has already taken steps to do so.
If I can get a quick word in from Dr. Bagai. Dr. Bagai, will India need a fourth dose? Just asking. I mean, there are reports that China may opt for a fourth dose. Will India ever need that?
At the present moment, my answer is no. There is sufficient data that if we're using either the homogeneous or the heterogeneous for the platforms which was made for the original strain, the fourth dose gives no added advantage over the third dose, irrespective of the gap between the third and the fourth dose. Yes, there is a possibility of a small efficacious benefit if we use a bivalent vaccine, but I think at the present moment, India has done itself extremely proud. They followed science, they followed protocols, they followed the exact way it should be managed, and I think we are in a much safer position than most of the Western countries. So for my answer for the fourth dose, the answer is no.
All right, Dr. Venkatesh Rao, Brian Val, and Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, thank you for joining us. The debate with Arnab Goswami coming up next. And we're looking at this debate as well. That's at 10:30 p.m. with Arnab. The pictures from China, I'll end with those pictures at the end. In hospitals, there is no space. There are no beds remaining. Those are bags, body bags in mortuaries and lining up in hospitals. There is a queue to bury the bodies, to cremate the bodies in China. And those are some of the pictures from inside hospitals in Beijing. It's an alarming situation, and India is taking stock tomorrow. Taking a short break. Stay tuned.
Zero COVID policy to projected 1 million deaths. Explosive spread of COVID in China. Big debate on the China COVID horror. Arnab debates at 10:30 p.m.
Amity has been ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally, a testimony to Amity's globally benchmarked quality.
Why did life test me? Why did it try to crush me, shake me, break me? Why me? Because it knew if I could take this test, I could take anything and say, that was easy.
झाके रे झाके झरोके से झाके देख के दंग है छोटे बड़े सारे झाके रे झाके फ्यूचर को ये ताके तरक्की को टुक टुक हर कोई ताके झाके रे झाके
Reimagineering brighter futures with smarter steels. ArcelorMittal, Nippon Steel India. Smarter steels, brighter futures.
Invest once and enjoy guaranteed maturity with life cover with LIC's Dhan Varsha, a single premium plan for your family's security and prosperity.
अगर मिठाई जंक फूड से है यारी, तो डायबिटीज की कर लो तैयारी।
Get Beto's Diabetes Care Program with a free glucometer and expert advice. Give a missed call on 740 1100.
Hey Rahul, what's up?
Hey, kicked about our first date?
Of course.
Benefits up to rupees 30,000 only at the Citroën C3 Carnival. Book today.
बैंगन भरते का सारा सामान ऑर्डर कर दिया, बैंगन ही ऑर्डर करना भूल गया।
बैंगन भी ऑर्डर कर दूं?
सिर्फ एक बैंगन देने कौन आएगा?
जियो मार्ट सिर्फ एक आइटम भी फ्री डिलीवर करता है।
छोटा या बहुत छोटा, जियो मार्ट करता है हर ऑर्डर फ्री होम डिलीवर। जियो मार्ट, हर घर का मार्ट।
क्या हुआ रोहन, क्या सोच रहा है?
रिया, पहली सैलरी मिली है, तुम भी कुछ आइडिया दो, एक्सपेंसेस को कैसे प्लान किया जाए।
रोहन, एक्सपेंसेस के साथ साथ इन्वेस्टमेंट प्लान करना भी जरूरी है।
देखो, सैलरी का कुछ हिस्सा घर के रेगुलर खर्चे के लिए और कुछ मैं अपने लिए भी तो सोच सकता हूँ ना, लेकिन इन्वेस्ट कहाँ करूँ?
सिंपल है, एनपीएस में।
एनपीएस में? रिया, अभी तो मैंने कमाना शुरू किया है, इतना आगे के लिए अभी से क्यों पैसे जोड़ूं?
वो देखो, एक एक करके ईंट जोड़ी जाती है, तब जाके एक घर तैयार होता है। वैसे ही अभी से पैसे जोड़कर हम भी अपना रिटायरमेंट सुखी बना सकते हैं।
बात में तो दम है।
एनपीएस कम लागत वाली फ्लेक्सिबल लॉन्ग टर्म योजना है, जिससे आपकी बचत ग्रो होकर पेंशन का लाभ देती है।
अच्छा, फिर तो मैं अभी अपना एनपीएस अकाउंट ओपन करता हूँ।
जो कल की सोचते हैं वो आज से ही थोड़ा थोड़ा जोड़ते हैं।
पेंशन है तो टेंशन नहीं। एनपीएस में निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है।
देखें कौन नया खिलाड़ी आया है, समझा देते हैं, प्यार से समझाएंगे। ये तो अपनी जुबान है।
जुबान एक हो तो दिल भी एक होने चाहिए। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
एक दिन मैं सोते सोते गिर गया और मुझे कुछ नहीं हुआ। पता है किसने किया? घोस्ट ने। वो हर बार मुझे बचा लेता है। मिलोगे?
अरे कोई घोस्ट नहीं, रोनी के पापा ही हैं जो उसे सेफ रखते हैं। जैसे हैवेल्स लाइफ शील्ड वायर्स जो दिखते नहीं पर घर को सेफ रखते हैं, ना आग पकड़े ना जहरीली गैस छोड़े। वायर्स दैट डोंट कैच फायर।
Guys, just 1 second. Choosing a car for my mom.
What? Online car shopping? Wow, that's so cool, yeah.
शाहरुख ने बताया.
Wait up. Booking a car service.
From here.
क्यों? तुझे शाहरुख ने नहीं बताया?
इसने पूछा ही नहीं। There's so much more जो शाहरुख ने नहीं बताया. It's all on the industry first My Hyundai app. Open a world of possibility with My Hyundai app. One app, many worlds.
प्लीज। जिस प्रकार से खड़गे जी ने अभद्र भाषा का प्रयोग किया, जिस प्रकार से खड़गे जी ने पूरी तरीके से बेबुनियाद बातें रखी, असत्य को देश के सामने रखने की कोशिश की, मैं उसकी घोर निंदा करता हूं और उनसे माफी की मांग करता हूं।
मैंने बाहर जो कहा, अगर फिर यहाँ रिपीट करूंगा, इन लोगों के लिए बहुत मुश्किल हो जाएगा।
वो कौन सा कल्चर है जिसको गांधी खानदान ने सर्टिफाई किया है कांग्रेस में? प्रश्न ये उठता है।
Amity has been ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally, a testimony to Amity's globally benchmarked quality.
Tonight, a murder will be committed. If anyone can name the killer, that person wins our game.
This is truly delightful.
Holy
There has been a murder. For one person, this is not a game. The killer wouldn't hesitate to kill again.
You must be really great at clues.
I'm very bad at dumb things.
Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery.
Hey Rahul, what's up?
Hey, kicked about our first date?
Of course.
Benefits up to rupees 30,000. Only at the Citroën C3 Carnival. Book today.
Helps beat sensitivity fast. Sensodyne Rapid Relief.
India welcomes those who further India's pride across the globe. Indian diaspora, partners of New India's growth journey in Amrit Kaal. Come and be a part of the 17th Pravasi Bharati Divas from 8th to 10th January 2023 at Indore, Madhya Pradesh, India. For registration, log on to pbdindia.gov.in.
Life will test you. It will turn your world upside down. Again, and again, and again. The only way to hit back is to stand up. Stand up every time and say, I'm not done.
झाके रे झाके झरोके से झाके देख के दंग है छोटे बड़े सारे झाके रे झाके फ्यूचर को ये ताके तरक्की को टुक टुक हर कोई ताके झाके रे झाके
Reimagineering brighter futures with smarter steels. ArcelorMittal, Nippon Steel India. Smarter steels, brighter futures.
Everyone looks at the world today. At Hyundai, we go beyond with experiences that take us forward. Innovations that are intuitive. At Hyundai, we are going beyond mobility, and you are welcome to join us.
Have you checked your sugar levels? Get Byju's diabetes care program with a free glucometer and expert advice. Give a missed call on 740 1100.
देखें कौन नया खिलाड़ी आया है। समझा देते हैं, प्यार से समझाएंगे। ये तो अपनी जुबान है।
जुबान एक हो तो दिल भी एक होने चाहिए। विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी।
भारत की अर्थव्यवस्था में $1 ट्रिलियन का योगदान और देश की अर्थव्यवस्था में ग्रोथ इंजन के रूप में अपनी भूमिका का निर्वहन करने के हेतु प्रदेश सरकार यूपी ग्लोबल इन्वेस्टर्स समिट 2023 का आयोजन कर रही है। आर्थिक विकास में तेज रफ्तार से आगे बढ़ रहे उत्तर प्रदेश में इस समिट के माध्यम से योगी सरकार ने 10 लाख करोड़ रुपए के निवेश का लक्ष्य रखा है।
एक दिन मैं सोते सोते गिर गया और मुझे कुछ नहीं हुआ। पता है किसने किया? घोस्ट ने। मेरा दोस्त है, वो हर बार मुझे बचा लेता है। घोस्ट को कैसे पता मैं अंधेरे से डरता हूँ? घोस्ट मेरा दोस्त है। मिलोगे?
अरे कोई घोस्ट नहीं, रोनी के पापा ही हैं जो उसे सेफ रखते हैं, जैसे हैवल्स लाइफ शील्ड वायर्स जो दिखते नहीं पर घर को सेफ रखते हैं, ना आग पकड़े ना जहरीली गैस छोड़े, वायर्स दैट डोंट कैच फायर।
सोच रहा हूँ कमेंट्री ट्राई करूँ। मैच का आखिरी बॉल, तेज तूफानी डिलीवरी, एक धमाकेदार शॉट और ये गया छक्का।
छक्का नहीं, टूटा। आपके टाइल्स को चाहिए MYK लेटिक्रीट टाइल एडेसिव। फॉर्मूला ऐसा कि अब टाइल न टूटेगा न छूटेगा।
says radicalized Islamists responsible. Will the lobby talk about the Amravati killing? Can the radicalization threat be played down? Arnav debates at 9 p.m.
Studios of Republic TV. It's time for Arnav Goswami on the debate.
Arnav Goswami on the debate at 9. Presented by Amity University. Powered by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group. Century Ply. And MYK Laticrete Tile Adhesives.
Good evening and welcome, viewers. Byju's. Byju's is a very well-recognized brand that has pumped hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of crores into marketing itself. And this company has very, very aggressive sales targets, naturally, because it has a very, 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 very aggressive valuation. Now, when you talk so easily of billions and billions and billions of dollars in valuation, which sounds all very nice, naturally, there are sharp investors behind it, and naturally, therefore, there is incredible pressure on the company, which gets all this money, to in turn get in the customers. Now, here's where things start getting complicated. In the case of Byju's, the customers are children. Children and parents. The eventual customer is the child. Now, film stars have been roped in, I'm sure been paid crores and crores to go on advertisements and say that taking this company's course guarantees your child's future and all that. But you know about film stars, they just act. The film stars, they act and they move on. I don't know if they are even legally liable if a customer says that the promises fall short. In previous cases, film stars have not taken this responsibility. But besides, ladies and gentlemen, this is about big money. Now, here is how it works. To justify their valuation, companies like Byju's grow inorganically, organically, and often inorganically. They move fast, all legitimate. They buy and merge and expand through buyouts. Then they buy out tutorial centers and all that. Means essentially what the company wants are lots of customers. The thirst of the company is for customers. In other words, children who are under its direct or indirect enrollment of its courses, its tutorial centers, centers it's bought, whatever. And here is where the story starts. There are allegations that Byju now faces of hard selling, mis-selling, or malpractices while selling, or as is alleged by some, luring parents and children to buy the courses. Now, Byju is under pressure. There are questions about its losses already, and the question for us is whether in that desperate seeking of the road to profitability, that's the question for us, whether in that desperate seeking of the road to profitability, Byju went overboard or over the top or undertook activities which the regulators may say are tough to justify. Now, this is the kind of news story that needs some investigation. It needs some deep investigation. But the hashtag Byju scandal does not end with its questionable financial fundamentals or the summons to its CEO Byju Ravindranath by the National Commission for the Protection of Child Rights. The Republic Network will deep dive into this case. And there is a reason for this. I believe, and I'm sure you agree with me, that Indian corporates need to be responsible. Our growth story as a nation and the story of corporates who are going to be part of the growth story has to be one of responsibility. There is a world beyond valuation. Ladies and gentlemen, whether you bought a Byju's program or not, this case, and I look forward to finding out more about this case becomes a case in point. Increasingly a case in point, and we need to do some deep journalism to find out. And we start asking the questions today. That's my debate at 10 o'clock tonight. Everyone's welcome to join on this. Question is, did Byju indulge in what can be called malpractices or predatory practices? Did they mislead parents? Were they luring people with